I thought about having just like a picture of Rainy for me to hold for this, considering the subject matter of this video. But I decided I'll just add in pictures, or at least a picture of Rainy and a picture of Bear, who was my dog before Rainy, while before Rainy. He was my dog that I had while I was growing up. We got him, I think I know I've mentioned him before. We got him, I think, either just before or just after I started like kindergarten or first grade, and we had him all the way up until like my first semester, second-ish semester of college. So we had him for like all of my school life. And I still miss him. I will always miss him. I will always miss Rainy. And I'm going to get myself emotional before I even get to the actual meat of what this video is about. Okay. All dogs go to heaven. Or at least, dear God, I hope so. Because all dogs are good and they all deserve to heaven. Except Carface, but if you actually watch through the entire series between All Dogs Go to Heaven, All Dogs Go to Heaven 2, the actual TV series they had, All Dogs Christmas Carol, and more of the TV series, I guess Carface gets better, but I don't know. Also, I don't like the fact that they made Carface a pit bull. I mean, he doesn't necessarily look like a pit bull, but he's a pit bull. And also Itchy is a dachshund, which I don't have a problem with. My sister had a dachshund. We had him for a while I was growing up as well, and then either he ran away or someone stole him out of our backyard. We don't know. We never found him. Still miss him too. Still miss him. Yeah, I've had a lot of dogs. Or I've had several dogs. But so, All Dogs Go to Heaven came out in 1989, and it is, of course, directed by Don Bluth. It's one of his very many animated movies that he has done over the years that are like also part of shaping my childhood alongside Disney, since some of them came out alongside the Disney Renaissance movies in the 90s. Okay, All Dogs Go to Heaven. So we start off in the movie takes place in 1939 New Orleans. I have been to New Orleans, not during Mardi Gras, although this apparently takes place during Mardi Gras because it's a Mardi Gras parade at one point in the movie. And if you're going to set a movie in New Orleans, sure, set it during Mardi Gras. That works. Just adds flair to it, I guess. Giant parade floats. Go ahead. Okay, so it takes place in 1939 New Orleans, and we are introduced to the charming and but unscrupulous, as he is literally referred to in the description, Charlie B. Barkin. Please tell me you get the joke. He's like a German Shepherd mix, and I think it's German Shepherd and Irish Setter mix or something like that in regards to what he is. He's a mutt. And they kind of start off the movie as like a jailbreak scene because we are also introduced to Itchaford, who is his like dachshund best friend. And Itchy is trying to break Charlie out of the pound where he is to be put down. So, yeah, that's, yeah. He's gonna be put down, and they have it all set up like a Prison Break sequence where like Itchy is like trying to drill in and dig in underneath the pound to get to where Charlie is, and like they meet in the middle, and like Itchy ends up trying to get Charlie out, and it just ends up resulting in him destroying like a water main, and it just water goes everywhere. Everything is like causing all the sirens to go off. They thankfully manage to escape. And I'm like, well, I guess to a dog, the pound does seem like prison, so I can't really argue with that. We got both Rainy and Brenda from the Humane Society, which is, I think, a little bit different, but still, you know. Anytime I look at that place, I was just like, I just want to adopt all of the dogs and some of the other animals that live there, but I don't have room for them, and I don't have money. But, so, there's that. They manage to escape, And they end up making their way back to this casino. Now, why dogs need a casino, I have no idea. But they have a casino that is like set up somewhere like very much in like the outskirts in this like abandoned ship. And the casino was originally owned by Charlie and his business partner, Carface. Now it's just Carface's. And according to all the other dogs that we see there, because like they have like rat races that they bet on and everything else like that. And according to the dogs that are there, when Charlie and Itchy return, they're all just like, oh my God, Charlie, we thought you'd been, we thought you were dead and everything else like that. Because like, he was supposed to be put down. And they're just like, oh my God, they're just like so happy to see him. And they're telling him this, like, things aren't the same as when you were here. We're not treated as well. And, they're mean to us. And like everything seems rigged and nobody really seems to win anymore. If you win, it's not good. And all that other stuff. So they're just like complaining to Charlie about this. And Charlie, of course, because it's an animated movie, to uplift everybody's spirits, starts singing. And they sing the song, You Can't Keep a Good Dog Down, which is obviously the reference to You Can't Keep a Good Man Down. And it's just like Charlie and Itchy just like singing all over the place, and all the other dogs are like joining in and celebrating that Charlie's back and okay. And, he's like, oh, you should be happy, and, all this other stuff is what they're doing. And Carface's a little lackey, Killer. I can never figure out what type of dog he's supposed to be, or at least I've never actually looked it up what type of dog he's supposed to be. Shows up and he recognizes Charlie, and he's like, oh God, that's not good. And he races back to tell Carface that Charlie is back. And it's revealed that like Carface is responsible for Charlie going to the pound in the first place, because he wanted to have like all of the gambling operation under his control and not having to split it with Charlie and everything. And like Killer is like Carface's like main lackey, but then he's got all these other lackeys that like work for him as well and everything like that, because he pays them or he threatens them or whatever. Take your pick. Probably both. And so Carface most definitely doesn't want to have Charlie around, because then he has to split his earnings again, and he doesn't want to do that. And Charlie shows up, and Charlie and Carface are talking, and Charlie does not know that Carface is responsible for him going to the pound in the first place. But what happens is Charlie and Carface are talking, and Carface is like, Charlie, you can't be part of this operation anymore. You've done time. That's not good. The first place they're going to come looking is here. I'm like, yeah, because the people who run the pound are aware of the dog casino and the old abandoned ship at the edge of town in the swamp. I'm like, yeah, because everybody is aware of that. I don't know. And so there's that. And what ends up happening is Carface kind of convinces Charlie that, how about this? You take half of everything, like, half of all the winnings, there's like half of the meat or half of the winnings, and like for them that's lots of steak, so it's like ribeyes and prime ribs and filet mignon and everything else like that, jokes that they're making for like half of these and half of those and everything like that are yours. Are yours for the taking. And you can take them, and you can go and set up your own operation somewhere else. And Charlie's like, okay, that sounds good. So that leads into where we get two things that happen. A, Itchy, who got separated from Charlie, overhears Killer talking about this monster, this Carface's little monster, with a couple of the lackeys that they have to feed and everything. So he's like, oh God, Carface has a monster. And then Killer also mentions, we're gonna kill Charlie. So that's what we're gonna do. And they're like, okay. And they're like, okay. And Itchy's like, oh, that's not good. So we have Itchy trying to get to Charlie to warn him, and Charlie, along with Carface and Killer and the others, all take Charlie to this like parade float where they end up drinking, and they just get Charlie so drunk and so sloshed and everything. And then basically they have it that they put Charlie at the end of a pier, blindfolded, and then Carface and Killer just send a car down the pier on the ramp and hits Charlie. And Charlie, and Itchy witnesses this. He witnesses the car hitting Charlie and Charlie going flying. And Charlie then, via warp tunnel, I guess, between life and death, wakes up in kind of like, it's heaven, but it's like lower heaven, or like heaven's waiting room or something like that, because like he meets this Whippet there. So later on she gets renamed Annabelle, but she's just kind of referred to as a Whippet in this. She's not given an actual name, but because I'm just used to referring to her as Annabelle from later on down the line in All Dogs Go to Heaven 2 and Christmas Carol and TV series, I'm just going to refer to her as Annabelle. And what happens is she is like this kind of dog that's in charge of like dog heaven, because of course it's all dogs go to heaven, because unlike humans, all dogs are naturally good. And she's like talking to Charlie, and she's like trying to like, come on, it'll be great here. Everything is so wonderful. Everything is the perfect temperature. You can eat as much as you want. You can play as much as you want. All this other fun stuff. Everything that sounds so great in heaven. And she's, talking to him like that and everything. And she's looking over Charlie's record because she has to look over to see if there's anything, involving kindness and loyalty and everything else like that from him to determine whether or not he can stay in heaven. And she's like, it's okay. I know we'll find something in there. And she's like, I seem to be having a hard time finding any good in your, any good from you. And, so she's trying to get him to, sign the book so that way he stays in heaven. And he does not want this. Charlie does not want to stay in heaven. He's like, I don't want to be here. I do not want this. I do not want to be dead. And it's the metaphorical crisis of, oh, by effing, what the happened? Why am I here? Type of a thing. And so Charlie is just like panicking. And Annabelle is just trying to like calm him down. And they end up in this kind of watch and clock and whatever, like timekeeping place area where there's all these watches and clocks and everything else like that. And there is this pocket watch on a chain that Charlie finds, and it has his name on it. And Annabelle explains it's like, well, this clock represents your life, and it stopped ticking, so you're dead. And Charlie is like, well, what if you just, wound it up again and got it going again? And she's like, oh no, we can't do that. That would be like against the rules. Which, don't tell Charlie something's against the rules, because he's just going to try it. So we enter the musical number of Let Me Be Surprised, where Charlie is talking about he doesn't want to be dead because it doesn't seem like there's going to be any surprises left left for him if he's dead. And he still wants to go and experience so many other things in life. Also, he just doesn't want to be dead, because he's still got Itchy back there, and he just, he wants to get his revenge on Carface, because Carface is the one that killed him this time and everything. So he wants to get all of that. Revenge is the main reason he wants to go back. And and then Annabelle's side of the song is supposed to be about like trying to help him understand that, being in heaven is fun and it'll be fine. You'll be, all happy here and everything else like that. Sunshine and rainbows type of thing. And so like they're going back and forth. And while this is happening, Charlie keeps trying to get his hands onto the pocket watch. And he does finally manage to get his hands on it via lots of sleight of hand around Annabelle. And he keeps having it behind his back as they're floating around. And then he does end up, getting the watch winded up and started again. And it rockets him back towards Earth, back to life. And we hear Annabelle's voice going like, you can never come back. If you do that, you can never come back. Because you're, defying death. You're defying the laws of nature in that regard. And I'm like, yeah, not like that's never been done in other media ever. A lot of times. Not necessarily. Well, okay, I was going to say Luffy has defied death in One Piece, but that was via outside means and then other reasons. Also, yeah, I'm recording this around Halloween, so my Halloween decorations are still up, but it may not go up until end of the year or sometime at the beginning of 2025, because these get recorded a while in advance, because reasons, and scheduling. But so Halloween connections to, heaven and the afterlife and everything else like that in that regard for, All Hallows Eve and Dia de los Muertos. So I guess it kind of adds up. Kind of fits. Although if it was around Easter, that would have applied too, I guess. But I don't think this will be out that close to Easter. But what ends up happening is, of course, so Charlie has wound the watch and he's rocketed back to Earth and wakes up and he gets out of the river, lake, whatever it is that he was, knocked into. And so he knows he has to keep the stopwatch ticking at all times. He has to keep the stopwatch going. And if it stops, then he'll die. And so he then makes his way back to where Itchy is. And they live in this big junkyard. Makes his way to Itchy. And he has to convince Itchy that he's not a ghost because Itchy freaks out and was like, Charlie, I saw you die, you're dead. Ah! Like they're all running. Charlie's chasing Itchy around Itchy's house and everything. / workshop. Because Itchy is very like, he very much likes to build things and tools and different things like that. So he has a lot of interest in that because we see him build like a whole new fake dog casino later. So he has a lot of that knowledge, I guess, and interest. And what happens is Charlie is able to convince Itchy that he's not a ghost. He's like, do ghosts have fleas? He's like, no, ghosts don't have fleas. And he's like, okay, so Carface is the one that killed me. So now I have to get revenge on him for that. So we got to figure out what we're going to do. And then Itchy was like, well, you can't go after Carface. He's got a monster locked away. And they're like, Charlie's like, And Charlie points out something. He's like, I was always the brains behind the operations when it came to him and Carface. So why is it that even though I'm gone, the casino and Carface seem to be doing better than ever? There has to be a reason. So they end up sneaking their way back into, Carface's casino because, like, Charlie probably helped build it or whatever, so he probably knows how to get around inside of it. And they get into, like, part of the bowels of the ship area. And they're looking to try to find the little monster. And they end up looking, they find out where the little monster is, or they find the monster, and it is actually a little girl. And her name is Anne Marie. We find that out shortly. Her name is Anne Marie. And funnily enough, and I'm pretty sure this is definitely something that Don Bluth designed into the character, she looks a lot like Snow White. Her hair is black like Snow White, kind of similar. It's short, and her dress is yellow, red, and blue, the way that Snow White's dress is for Snow White from the Disney, from the original Disney movie in 1939, actually, I think. So, what other? I think it was 1939. 1938, 1939. Snow White. So it's like, she's like a reference to that, but not like 100%. Also, she's like a little girl who can talk to animals, and she's very sweet and kind and pure type of a thing. So it's like, it's a Snow White reference. It is so a Snow White reference. And of course, as a kid, you don't pick up on that. And then I'm just like, now that I'm adult, I'm like, but what about copyright? How does that play into copyright? Because it was still definitely within the copyright of Snow White. So I don't know exactly, but I just like, maybe there's enough of a difference with it that it's not a problem. So I don't know, because like her dress is kind of in tatters and everything. So I don't know. So we find out because Carface and Killer come in, and he's got this rat that, Anne Marie needs to talk to because Anne Marie has the ability to talk to animals. And apparently animals can't understand each other, as in like dogs can't understand rats, can't understand horses, but Anne Marie has like the ability to understand animals. And she gets information from the rat about who they think is going to win the race, so that way Carface and Killer can fix the race for like where the odds land on the rat race. And of course, Anne Marie is like very sweet to the rat and everything like that, but Carface is always very mean to Anne Marie. Was like, I'll let you go outside, and then he doesn't go outside, and I'll help you find your parent, stuff like that. Charlie's going to be kind of similar, unfortunately, for those of you who have seen the movie. And if you're watching this review and you have never seen All Dogs Go to Heaven, why are you watching this review? Go watch the movie. I can't do the movie justice. So Brenda is now downstairs with my mom. So Charlie and Itchy make their way after Carface and Killer leave. They make their way down and they talk to Anne-Marie, and they find out that she is an orphan, and Charlie convinces her to come with them, saying that, like, Carface isn't treating you well here. He won't let you go outside. He won't let you do anything fun. And I'll even help you find, like, a very nice family to adopt you and everything else like that. And his intention, because at one point we see her looking at Anne-Marie beforehand, and he just has, like, these dollar signs in his eyes. He's like Nami looking at this little girl, although I don't think Nami would have treated Anne-Marie quite the same way that Charlie is going to treat her, although he does make the right choices in the end. And what happens is Charlie and Itchy take Anne-Marie out of there, and they take her back to, where Itchy and Charlie live, in the junkyard. And Charlie is, like, reading her a story. He's reading her War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy, but it's upside down. And he's actually telling her the story of Robin Hood as he's doing it. So, reasons, I guess. I don't know. And so he's doing that. And what happens is, he's trying to keep the girl happy, and that night they all go to sleep, and she is just like, Charlie, can you tuck me in? Can you give me a kiss? And then she's like, my part of the bed, which is the car, isn't comfy. And he's like, okay, fine, you sleep here. And then she's like doing her prayers, and Charlie is just like, oh God, make her stop. Just make her go to sleep. And Charlie and Itchy talk, and he's like, okay, when in the morning we're going to the racetrack, we're going to go to the horse track, and we're going to use her to find out from the horses who's supposed to win the race. And they get to the horse track the next day, and Charlie is trying to convince Anne-Marie to tell him, which horse is supposed to win. Like, talk to the horses and find out who's supposed to win the race. And she's like, you're just like Mr. Carface. And he lies to her. And he tells her, no, I'm not like Mr. Carface. Carface is evil. Carface is bad. And he's like, no, we're gonna use the money that we're gonna get from, the horse racing. We're gonna bet on the horse racing. We're gonna use that money, and we're gonna we're gonna give it to the poor, and we're gonna buy you a new dress because, it'll make you look more adoptable if you're in a nice dress and everything else like that. So they're going through all of that stuff. And, so he's able to convince Anne-Marie, and she ends up, she talks to one of the horses that's there, and they find out that, oh, it's this, like, definitely one that does not look like they could win any race ever. Horse's birthday, the Grand Chahi's birthday. And, so he's supposed to win because it's his birthday. And they're like, okay, I guess. And so this then leads into Charlie and Itchy having to steal a wallet, or having to get some money so they can use it to bet. And what happens is Charlie has they end up spotting this couple who look like gullible and stuff like that he wants to use, steal from them. They look well-to-do and everything else like that. And Itchy acts as this distraction, pretending to be hurt to, get the guy's attention. I don't remember if we actually find out the names of the couple. No, we do, but I can't remember what they are off the top of my head. And what happens is Itchy is pretending to be hurt. Anne-Marie, thinking Itchy is actually hurt, ends up interacting with him and interacting with the couple at the same time. And Charlie is, like, pickpocketing the wallet from the husband. And, the couple kind of takes an interest in Anne-Marie right away. And, the wife is like, oh, she's so sweet and everything. You're such a sweet girl and everything else like that. And then Charlie, drags Anne-Marie off after they get the money. And then they dress Anne-Marie up in the typical thing of, like, 3 children stacked together in a trench coat. In this case, it's a dog, another dog, and a little girl on top of the dog stacked together in a trench coat with a fake mustache. And dude who was in charge of taking bets at the gate is not very discerning at his job because he does not see through this disguise right away. But they put the money down as the bet on the Grand Chahi, and from there it ends up, we have the cute the interaction where the Grand Chahi is like behind in the race, and the female horse has to go up to one of the horse that's in the lead, and it's just like, they're running alongside each other, and she's like, that today, you remember that today is the Grand Chahi's birthday, and he's like, oh yes, oh okay, and then like the two horses get behind the Grand Chahi, and they just like push him over the finish line, so he's the winner, which I guess counts for reasons. I mean, like, Mary Poppins enters a horse race on a merry-go-round horse and wins the race in the first place, so I guess so, because reasons. And so they do that, and Grand Chahi wins, and so Charlie and Itchy and Anne-Marie get a ton of money, and then they continue to use Anne-Marie to make a bunch of these bets in different races and everything else like that, turtle racing and all these other types of races and such. And so they just got money rolling in, and then Itchy proceeds to build this casino in the junkyard, uses the money that they've won to build this casino and build it up and everything else like that, and make it better than what Carface's casino was. And they do that, and so that's going great for them. And Anne-Marie at one point is, she's getting kind of sad because they've got all this money coming in, but she's just kind of sad because she still doesn't have a family. So Charlie and Itchy take her to a dress boutique so she can start getting, new clothes and everything else like that for her to wear. And then once the casino is up and going and everything else like that, then Anne-Marie is getting ready to leave. And she's like complaining to Charlie. It was like, all you do is gamble, and you said we were going to give this money to the poor, and we haven't helped the poor at all, and you said you were going to help me find a family, find parents, and you haven't done any of that, and you're just like Mr. Carface. And Charlie, and of course, in an attempt to try to appease her, does the whole woe is me, you're right, and everything else, and we will go and we will help the poor. And they take a bunch of pizzas to and a cake to this kind of dog orphanage, I guess, inside of this old rundown church. And it's kind of implied that like Charlie has like known about this place for a while, because it's mentioned earlier in the movie by Itchy. And then Charlie seems to know the female dog who is in charge, the collie who's in charge in charge of taking care of all these orphans and everything. And, they give the pizza and everything else to all of the puppies, and the puppies are just so happy. And then it comes down to where there's one last slice, and Charlie is, trying to teach the puppies about sharing. So he sings the song, "What's Mine Is Yours." And so, he's, teaching all of the puppies about sharing and everything. And, after that, what happens is Anne-Marie finds the wallet that Charlie stole from the couple, and she realizes that that's what Charlie did. And she kind of goes up to, she refuses to talk to Charlie, and she goes up into like the tower of the church, and she sings, "Soon You'll Be Home," and it's, this, her kind of dreaming about like this life that she could have with this young couple, and like have all the puppies there and everything else like that, because she's a very sweet girl. And like just like her dreaming about that and everything, and singing about that. And she falls asleep up there with a bunch of the puppies around her. Charlie falls asleep in the church as well, because he's not going to just leave Anne-Marie. And he dreams about, he has this nightmare where, his clock ends, the stopwatch, stops ticking, and he ends up being dragged down into hell, into the fiery pits of hell, where there's a lake of lava, and there's demons intent to drag him into the lava and everything. It's terrifying to watch. It would be terrifying to watch as a kid, but it's like beautifully animated, and Charlie is just oh god, like he is terrified of this concept of like having to go to hell because he's been such a bad dog. And he, he wakes up from the nightmare and he finds that Anne Marie is gone. And the little puppies tell him that, oh, she went to 402 Maple Street because she's gonna went to go visit the Wallet family, is what they're referred to as. And I don't know if we ever find out. As I said, I don't remember if we find out their exact names. I think we do, but I don't remember what they are off the top of my head. So Charlie makes his way to the house where Anne Marie is with the young couple, and they're having this great breakfast because they're thanking her for returning the wallet, and the wife's making, Anne Marie waffles with real butter and syrup, as she says, because she's just, so happy about it. And they're asking her questions about, where are your parents? And she's like, oh, I'm an orphan. Okay, well, where do you live? Oh, I live in the junkyard with Charlie. He's my dog. And they're like, okay. And the couple go off and they're like, okay, we can't let her leave here. She can't go back to that situation. But Charlie shows up and he talks to her, and he guilts her into coming back with him. And he guilts her into coming back with him. So she leaves with Charlie out the back window. And while all of this has been going on, Carface, of course, has found out that Charlie is alive. Well, he starts building a giant casino that is taking, profits away from Carface's casino that has Charlie's freaking name written on it. So, yeah. And he figures out that, that Charlie has taken Anne Marie and everything else like that. And so his intent is to kill Charlie, and him and Killer have this... Well, it's referred to as a ray gun, but I don't think it's a ray gun. I think it's just a machine gun of some kind that just gets referred to as a ray gun by Killer. Because reasons. Don't ask me why, but that's what happens. And on Charlie and Anne Marie's back to wherever, probably on their way back to the casino, Carface and Killer, try to attack them with the gun. They almost shoot Charlie, but they manage, Charlie and Anne Marie manage to get away. And then they end up hiding, and then via reasons, they fall into part of the swamp area, and Charlie loses his watch, so he's intent on finding that, and then they end up getting captured by the sewer rats, who they are intent on sacrificing Charlie to their god, which is this big, giant, freaking big-lipped alligator. I don't know. Okay, it's Louisiana, and they have alligators there. When I was down in Louisiana with my youth group, several of them ate, alligator, and we went on a, airboat thing and saw alligators. Why there's a giant one here, I don't know, and why it sings and has a flair for the dramatics and showbiz and everything else like that, I don't understand, but whatever. It's entertaining at the very least. And the alligator is about to eat Charlie, and Charlie just lets out this super high-pitched howl, which makes the alligator then spare Charlie, because Charlie has this great singing voice. And then we go into the duet of Let's Make Music Together, which is the alligator singing with Charlie about this great friendship and singing partners that they could make. It's like a fever dream, okay? It's a fever dream. Well, it's not literally a fever dream, but that's what it seems like. And as a kid, you're like, okay, this is fine. And then as you're an adult, you're like, okay, why? Why is this happening? And so while all of their singing, Charlie gets his hands back on his pocket, back on the watch, so he's got that. And then Marie, unfortunately, Anne Marie ends up getting thrown into the water, where she ends up getting this very bad cold from being in the sewer and everything. And so Charlie is trying to comfort her and everything else like that. And I guess the alligator helps them get back to somewhere, and Charlie takes Anne Marie back to the church. While all of that is going on, Itchy is still taking care of the casino, and Carface and all of his goons show up at the casino, and they start threatening Itchy and they unfortunately end up beating up Itchy, and they blow up the casino. And Itchy makes his way to Charlie, which is, of course, at the church where Anne-Marie is, where she's being looked after by the orphan dog lady. And she's like, she needs to go to a doctor. She needs a human doctor and everything. Trying to convince Charlie to take Anne-Marie to an actual human doctor. Itchy shows up, and he's all beaten and bruised and everything else like that because of Carface. And, he's like, our casino's been blown up and everything, and he's just like, and Itchy just gets this kind of there's this great, it's like Itchy getting to list all of his complaints to Charlie about the fact of, like, you're supposed to be my best friend, and I know that you're in love with the girl. I know that you're in love with Anne-Marie, or at least in love with the money that she can bring. And I know that you care about her and everything, but, we could have done so much other stuff. I wanted to leave, and you wouldn't let us leave. You wanted to do this. You wanted to get your revenge on Carface, and I went along with it because you're my best friend. And, Itchy is just getting to complain to Charlie about all this, all the stuff that Charlie has done that Itchy keeps going along with because Charlie's his friend and because he cares about him and everything. And yet Charlie doesn't seem to reciprocate that. And of course, as they're having this argument, Anne-Marie starts coming down the stairs. And neither of them are noticing her, but she is getting to hear all of this conversation. And Charlie says mean things. And he's like, I don't actually care about her. I just have her for the money. And when all of this is done, when we've gotten all the money that we can get from her, taken all the advantage of her that we can, we're just going to dump her at an orphanage afterwards. I don't care. I'm not going to help with any of that stuff. She'll be on her own or whatever. And that's, after that is when Charlie and Itchy notice that she is there. Speaking of dogs, Brenda! Easy, Brenda. I'm almost done. Did you get that snack with Grandma? I'm almost done. You're fine. Joker girl. Best Brenda Boo in the whole wide world. You are. You are the best Brenda Boo in the whole wide world. I love you so. And so Anne-Marie hears this. She yells at Charlie. She calls him a bad dog. And then she runs out of the church. They hear her scream. And they run outside. They find this bunny toy that she'd had with her from the beginning. They find that on the ground. Anne-Marie is gone. And dog. And Charlie starts chasing after her because he knows that she has to be Carface took her, and then he had to have taken her to Carface's casino. The female dog that's in charge of the orphanage tells Itchy to take the stuffed bunny to 402 Maple Street, and she's like, she has friends there. They'll know what to do. And so we get this moment where Itchy is running through the streets of New Orleans, barking and getting a hold of all the other dogs, getting information about okay, where is 402 Maple Street? That's over by the firehouse, blah, 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 blah. And all of these dogs just start chasing after Itchy and just causing this huge uproar throughout the city. And I kind of liken it to the Twilight bark sequence in 101 Dalmatians, where, Pongo and Perdita are trying to find information about what happened to their puppies. And it's probably an homage to that sequence, or at the very least a reference to it. And so we have that happening, and Itchy runs all the way with the other dogs, all the way to where the Wallet family live, where the couple live. and they open the door, and Itchy, and there's like all these dogs on their porch, and Itchy runs inside, and they're just like, what is going on here? And like he drops the bunny, and apparently they get the whole thing of like, oh, this is Anne-Marie's thing, and she's, you know, like they recognize Itchy from like that day at the racetrack, and like Itchy and all the other dogs are then leading not just the couple but also like the police and the fire department, and I'm assuming an ambulance, through the streets of New Orleans, all the way out to like where the casino would be, where Carface's casino would be. So that's great. And while that's happening, Charlie has made his way to back to Carface's casino in the derelict ship that's there. He finds Anne-Marie in this cage that's kind of hanging above like the water, and Charlie's intention is it was like, okay, I'm going to get you out of here, and I'm going to take you back to the Wallet family, because like that is now his intention of like, I've done too much bad here. I need to do something good. Not because it's like a good thing on his report card or anything like that, but because he genuinely wants to. He does care about Anne-Marie. He's not used to caring about anyone who's not himself, for the most part. Like Itchy is one thing, but he's not used to caring about someone who's not himself, or that is not something that is beneficial to him. And so his intention is to get Anne-Marie out of there and take her back to the Wallet family, so that way she can have them as her parents and be loved and taken care of and be spoiled the way that she should be, in his opinion. And of course, Carface and Killer and the rest of Carface's goons are there. And Charlie ends up having to fight them. And while all of this is happening, at one point, Charlie gets captured and like tied to this anchor, and he's going to be dropped into the water to drown. And Charlie at one point in this fight against Carface's men let out this huge the big high-pitched howl sound again, that then the alligator hears and shows up to help Charlie. And while Charlie is under the water tied to the anchor, the alligator shows up and bites through the rope on the anchor, so that way Charlie can get out. And Charlie gets out of the water, and like the gator swims off to swim back outside. And Carface just sees this, and his reaction is like, what in the F just happened? Which is fair. And the alligator goes out, and it starts ramming against the side of the ship to try to knock the ship over, so that way it'll sink. To be fair, probably not the best idea, but reasons. And all of this, all heck is breaking loose. Charlie is trying to keep the pocket watch out of the water at the same time, and he's, trying to get to where Anne-Marie is, and she falls out of the cage, and she's kind of like stuck on this like, not barrel, but box, wooden box that's like floating in the water. And because you have to add fire into these dangerous situations just to up the peril as to what is going on, a bunch of oil cans spill and land on like a radiator, and that causes a fire to spark all over the place. So now there's fire. And Carface and Charlie are fighting, and Charlie is trying to get down so he can save Anne-Marie. And Carface gets knocked into the water, and Charlie dives into the water, and he gets to Anne-Marie, and his the pocket watch keeps falling off, and he keeps putting it back on, or he keeps trying to keep it out of the water and everything, and he's diving down to get Anne-Marie, and the pocket watch falls into the water the watch falls into the water at the same time, and Charlie is pulling Anne-Marie trying to pull her up out of the water, and the pocket watch goes by, and he grabs the pocket watch, and he is forced to make the choice of going after the pocket watch to save his own life or save Anne-Marie. And of course he picks Anne-Marie, and he gets her up onto a plank of wood that's big enough for her to be on, lays her flat, and he like uses what's left of his strength, what he has, to like push her out, so she rides one of the waves out of the boat. So she's safe, so she's out of the burning boat. And he then dives down to try to get the watch. And of course, he made the right decision. He saved Anne-Marie. And he's diving down to get the watch, and as the watch stops, it just all bubbles up, and like outside of the casino, and the ship has just like, fallen into the water because of the alligator hitting it, and then the alligator went and actually ate Carface for reasons, and so Itchy and the other dogs and the couple and like the police and fire department show up at this point, and Killer is actually the one pushing Anne-Marie the rest of the way through the water on the plank of wood. Now, whether or not Killer is doing this to save his own skin, or whether or not he's doing it because he genuinely wants to save her, we don't know. It's never explained. But they get her there, and Itchy and the other dogs have realized that Charlie's not coming out, that Charlie is gone. And we cut to sometime later, Anne-Marie has been, taken in by the young couple, and, I guess adopted her, so, and Itchy has made his way in, and he is, sleeping next to her on the bed, and we have this moment where, just, all around the house, outside of the house, in the neighborhood, in the city, just, this red smoke just starts to appear. And this, weird hellhound demon-looking thing shows up. And Charlie's spirit is sent into the room, and Charlie is able to say goodbye to Anne-Marie. I'm gonna get choked up. Damn you, Don Bluth. Damn animation. Damn you, animation, for just making me feel things. They're just... God. And it's not like I've never watched this movie before. I grew up watching this movie. I don't know when it started to make me sad. To be fair, I don't think I've actually watched this movie specifically. I think I've watched at least an All Dogs Christmas Carol, but I don't think I've watched this movie specifically since we had to put Bear down when I was 19. So, yeah, that's a good chunk of time since then. And I've watched it twice in the last week. So, I think I have a valid reason for that. And add a rating to that list. So, Charlie Spirit gets to go into the room and out, and he's getting the chance to kind of, say goodbye to Anne-Marie. And outside, there is this blue sphere that approaches, and it's actually Annabelle. And she shows up, and she, defeats this hellhound cat-looking demon thingy, defeats it. And that makes all of the smoke go away. And she goes in, and she talks to Charlie, and she's like, "Come on, Charlie, it's time to go home." And Charlie gets this, Anne-Marie wakes up. Anne-Marie wakes up. And they get to say goodbye to each other. I'm not cutting these parts out. And, Charlie asks Anne-Marie to look after Itchy, and she, of course, says, of course she will. And, Charlie... They say their goodbyes, and he, he's looking at the orb that's Annabelle, and he's like, "But I thought I couldn't come back." I know. Mommy's crying. It's okay. Good girl. Yes, you're a good girl. and she's like, you gave your life to rescue this girl, so of course you get to go to heaven, and they show Charlie go off. And he goes to heaven. And, we cut up to heaven, and we're getting, like, the choir starts singing. It's, like, very somber. And then, we hear Charlie's voice come over, and he's like, I know we're all dead up here, but that doesn't mean the music has to be. Come on, guys. And they start, the choir starts singing hallelujah, and it's like the gospel choir set up. And it is this reference to New Orleans funerals, because they're very somber on the way to, like, the grave site. And then they party on the way back. It's, party and, big, celebration and everything like that of life, of the person's life on the way back. So it's a reference to that. And we see Carface there, and Carface tries to, somehow Carface ended up in heaven, because all dogs go to heaven. And Carface tries to get his hands on his own watch, which looks like an alarm clock, and he's trying to wind that up. And then, like, Annabelle just, like, is, like, chasing him around, getting him to stop. And Charlie kind of, gets, pops up in front of the audience. He's like, oh, don't worry, he'll be back. In regards to, like, Carface, and, like, so Charlie, and he's got his halo, so he's in heaven where he's supposed to be. And then we go into the credits, and the credits play, and the song that plays is called Love Survives. And that's the ending theme of the movie, and it's the theme of the movie in general. And the song is actually dedicated to the girl who played Anne-Marie, because she passed away. I don't know the full circumstances. I don't remember, but she passed away, I think, before the movie came out. So the song is dedicated to her. And so there's that. For the cast, so there's actually a lot of dead people in this list here, I think. So we have Burt Reynolds as Charlie. Later on, he had, in the later movies and in the TV series, there's other actors that have played Charlie. And then we have Dom DeLuise. Love Dom DeLuise as Itchy. He's been in so much. And then, so it's Judith Barcy is Anne-Marie. And as I said, the song at the end of the movie is, and this was her final film before her murder, unfortunately, in 1988. And the theme is dedicated to her. And while pretty much all of the rest of the cast or the characters have ended up in other media, she does not. Anne-Marie is not used at all at other media. I don't know if she's ever referenced in anything, but she does not appear in any other media after this. And then we have Vic Tiebeck, who also passed away, because this was his final film role. He passed away in 1990, and he plays Carface. And so he's a bulldog, not a pit bull. I thought he was a pit bull. I don't know why, but whatever reasons. And then we have Charles Nelson Riley as Killer, and Melba Moore as the Whippet, as Annabelle. And then we have Ken Page as the King Gator, as the giant alligator. That's what we have for this. I know I would kind of calm down a little bit, but yeah, some stuff for movies just get to me. Same thing happens with anime. It's like I broke down with some of the Digimon stuff too, so that's what I have here for this. I do not remember what the next one is for the next non-Disney, non-Pixar animated stuff, but whatever, I'll get to that eventually. As I said, this is being recorded like a week before Halloween, so I don't remember I don't know when it will go up, but, you know, whatever. So that's what I have. I thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'm sorry if my crying bothered you, but that's just the types of emotions these movies tend to bring out in me. So, bye.